the Ombudsman's audited accounts, financial statements and activity report before the committees. Aissatou Badian Sarr has more on that.
Next to face the lawmakers was the Office of the Ombudsman as they lay before the House their annual activity and financial reports for 2009 to be scrutinized.
Although we are getting more and more popular because of the highest in Africa, I think that is our recommendation, so that we settle at our level time. But since I assumed office, I've only had cause to report 2 cases to HE, the President, for enforcement. Because our objective is to create a win-win situation.
Government subvention, etc. Total 4,229,537.65. Out of which expenditures payments were 4,066,958.13. The closing balance as at 31st December 2008 was 162,579.52.
Lawmakers also took turns to ask for clarifications in some cases, as well as make recommendations where necessary.
You talk about shortfalls in your subvention, and for you to be effective, honestly, we think you should be subvented more. But we can only back that up when we ensure that when we are happy that the funds so given are managed properly.
You will find out that your wages and salaries is about less than 1/5, 20% of your income. There's a message there. The message there is that you have too few people trying to manage too much money. So you should have more people trying to manage a little bit more money more efficiently.
Despite all the good job, you have to get into the private sector. Maybe I oversight the ombudsman himself saying that the bar or the lawyers are saying the private sector is no go area. Yes, that's an opinion. That's not our problem. The fact is we are here to protect the interests of the Gambian people, which will not compromise. So please revisit the act, and then, yes, you are already a good institution, but I believe that you could become an excellent institution if you pop into the private sector.
The budget which was approved by the National Assembly for this body was not all received. And I believe in a situation like Ombudsman, really any money allocated to them by the National Assembly or approved by the National Assembly, the bulk amount should be given to Ombudsman to enable them to carry out their functions.
I'm not convinced that legally you have no mandate to deal with the private sector. I want to be convinced. Because if this is the case, then we must, of a matter of urgency, and if you don't, I'm going to introduce a private member's bill to amend this act, because it is ridiculous.
The subject matter specialist also weighed in on the matter.
Perhaps the Ombudsman could consider having authorized signatories in specific combinations, so that if one person is absent, at least the official is not held to ransom and work can go on normally, because there are others who can sign and ensure that payments are made on time.
Officials of the Gambia Procurement Agency described the Office of the Ombudsman as non-compliant to the rules of the Procurement Agency.
I may quote the auditor's report, which states, we noted that the following procurements were made without first obtaining the required 3 quotations in contravention of the dictates of the GPPA Procurement Act, Section 44, subsection 2, and Regulation 12 mentioned below. The table was showing the list of transactions which were offered to suppliers, and the thresholds were above single source.
After an intense scrutiny of the reports, the lawmakers gave the report of the Ombudsman a clean bill of health. Aissatou Badian Sarr, GRTS.
Meanwhile, the Gambia Radio and Television Services has received a tap on the back for its prudent financial and management practices. The development came after officials of the national broadcaster presented GRTS's audited accounts, activity report and financial statements to the lawmakers which were later adopted. Abubakar Dabo was following proceedings, and he now reports.
Enterprise scrutiny at the House of Parliament was a rather revealing moment for the state's own broadcaster, as the committees of the whole House took time and turns to unleash words of accolade and gratitude to the Gambia Radio and Television Services for its exceptional financial prudence and management.
On behalf of the Public Accounts and Public Enterprise Committees, and inclusive our subject matter specialists, we want you to extend this message back home to the last cleaner and messenger, that we are appreciative, and we have seen what Grts is doing, and we want you to keep it up.
Let me thank you for presenting 3 accounts, audited accounts. That's a job well done. And looking through your management letter, you had almost nil management query. It means, for me, your funds, the monies allotted to you have been properly managed.
Last year they came here and they were in areas, but this time around they had 2,000, cleared all their areas, and I want to congratulate them for that.
These words of commendation came after GRTS presented its annual report, audited accounts and financial statements for 2008-2010 to the PAC committees. The man at the helm of affairs at GRTS, Alhaji Mahmoud Sanyang, dilated on the current technical operations of the institution, which is spreading across regions to ensure countrywide and global access to satellite programs. Sanyang also touched on the state broadcaster's financial deficit, which is due mainly to the non-payment of debts owed to the national broadcaster and the minimal $1.25 a user fee paid by cellular companies to fund the operational needs of GRTS. Sanyang did not lose sight of the need for government to give GRTS annual subvention.
Our technical operations have, for the period under review, been mainly preoccupied with the digital satellite project, which I am happy to report has reached a very advanced stage of completion. Our commercial digital FM, that is the radio, is also fully operational and presently received globally. The completion of our satellite project will also phase out the MW transmission and certainly reduce operational costs tremendously in terms of fuel, repairs, and maintenance at Bonton. Mr. Speaker, we therefore appeal to this August House intervention by way 1, that is subventions, or an increase in the user fee levy of 1.25, which presently hardly meets even our monthly salaries.
DG Sanyang appealed to the National Assembly to use its discretion to assist GRTS to recover its debt, which runs into millions of dollars. Marshal Tomasi, chairman of the GRTS Board of Directors, stressed that there is need to clear the misconception many state institutions have about GRTS's fiscal mandate and corporate responsibility, a scenario he pointed out is exploited to deny GRTS revenue it deserves.
The Director General has generally spoken and singled out education, as they have ever been paying within their project budget, particularly their FTI, the Fast Track Initiative within the Education for All. They have been paying. But we are aware as a board and as management that certain other projects in ministries have got an IEC component, information, education, communication component, but they retain that and make it available to other services other than, and then in the end they come to GRTS and they assume that that is part of our corporate responsibility. This is where the difference lies.
Tomasi also said frequent power outages and recent storms are compounding GRTS's transmission problems, noting that the institution is now overstretching its financial muscles to ensure that Gambians enjoy what they are accustomed to seeing on TV. GRTS's Finance Director Lamin Sise took time to explain the institutional fiscal transaction for the period under review, explaining that failure to schedule debts owed to GRTS is hampering its ability to pay allowances to staff traveling out of the country on assignment. Honorables Saluba of Basse, Neti Balde of Tumanna, and Fabakar Tomong Jata, the majority leader, all commended GRTS for its decisive role in educating and informing the masses on critical national issues, saying that GRTS would have been on a better pedestal if that ode to the institution were settled. Together they extolled GRTS